Welcome back to another episode of Creatives with Kartik. Today I have a very special guest on this week's podcast. He's a dear friend of mine and someone I look up to when it comes to creativity, entrepreneurship, and generally all things cameras. He started his creative journey at the mere age of 7 with what began as casual fun playing with cameras and content creation, inevitably led to the establishment of his very first business, TS Productions, back in 2015. Having worked in banking for 6 years, he decided it was time to pursue a full-time career within content creation through his digital marketing agency, Aurum Media, which will be a large focus on today's episode. I'm super pumped and super excited to introduce this week's speaker and guest, Tahir. Tahir, thank you so much, brother, for being on the show, man. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. That was a good introduction.
Did you like it? Did you like that?
I love it when you do it with it because I watched obviously the other video shortly and like that introduction, like it's crazy that I did that.
Look, like it's always a reflecting moment. It's like, holy shit, like that was all me. Like that was the period that I went through, which is great. It's awesome because it's going to structure a lot of what I have to talk to you about today. And fun fact, I think I always like to say this whenever I speak to Tahir a lot, whenever other people are in the room as well. It's that we started our creative journeys when it came to at least the wedding and entertainment scene at the same time. And, you know, it's so remarkable. In the same room.
We did it in the same room.
I know. And it was so remarkable to see, you know, every time I look at this bloke's, you know, level of content game, every time I see he puts out like just collateral on socials, I look at it, I'm like, man, this guy's like making waves. And I always really appreciate seeing what you're doing out there. And now you're doing it full time, man. So congrats on that. That's awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Brilliant. Dude, let's just get straight into it, man. Like where did this journey actually begin for you? Like how did it all start?
This is I've told this story a few times in the last couple of months now, so I'm getting pretty good at it. But
I love it.
Look, to start off with, it started when I was 7, like you said. I was 7 years old, and one of my older cousins, he was in year 12 at the time. And back then you had to like obviously pirate Adobe and you had to install it on your computers, right? Like back then it was fine to do that.
Totally.
And he installed it into our computer because out of all of like all my cousins, we only had the computer that had the right specs to do it. So he had to do it on our computer.
Yeah.
And he sat down, and it was Adobe Flash for anyone that actually knows about the Adobe suite. And he used to he made obviously his assignment and he left. And then I was like, damn, like I was 7 years old. I was like my older cousins doing it. Like I want to get good at this too, right?
Yeah.
And like just this interest of like, oh, like I want to see what this is all about, because I was 7. Like it was 2004. What were we doing, right?
Exactly.
And so I sat down and I just started playing around with the program. And the program basically what it does is it allows you to create keyframes. So every frame is a keyframe, and you can create objects or buttons, and then you can like make them move. So my first project was making a ball bounce.
I love it. It's so simple. So
it's
simple. Just making a ball bounce. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And I kind of just sat down and I was playing around with it. Back then, no YouTube, no forums to learn from. Like it's not like today, right? Like in 2004, the internet wasn't like what it was today, right?
Yeah.
You can't just jump onto YouTube and be like,
no tutorials, no none of that. It was like self-taught, self-learn. You just got to go out and try it. I love it.
That's it. So I used to just every Saturday, and I'm saying every Saturday for 4 years, I used to sit down every morning, and I used to watch Toasted in the morning, if everyone remembers that.
Toasted TV, yes.
Yep,
so
Toasted
good.
TV.
Yeah.
So I used to get up and watch Toasted, and then straight after that, I used to jump on the computer and make that ball bounce again. It was exactly the same every single time.
Yeah.
But for me, like the reason why I did it for so long was because one, I didn't know anything else, but two, like I fell in love. It was like Zen. You know, like don't people talk about that flow of when they're doing something. There's this flow, and like time warps. Nothing matters.
It's like before you know it, you're like you've spent hours doing this one thing, like this, making this ball balance, and you're like, whoa, where did time go? Yeah, I totally get what you
mean. And you see that when you do your
I love it. Yeah, all the time,
right?
all the time.
Exactly, right? So I had that at a very young age, and for me that was everything, right? Like I was I was in primary at the time, but like for me, coming home or on the weekends trying to do this thing that just made me really happy.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, at that time on YouTube, like Just Rain was just starting up, and like, you know, people were starting to make these skits on YouTube.
Yeah.
Though obviously I knew that I wasn't allowed to post videos on this thing called YouTube. Me and my cousin, we used to make videos every Friday. And we used to do it because we didn't have obviously cameras like this back then.
Mm.
If you remember, like laptops with the camera at the top, the webcam.
Yeah, the
that's
webcam.
inbuilt.
Yep.
We used to put that on top of a doing the golden trolley that when you have guest over and you put tea on it and you kind of like take it to the guest room.
Yeah, you
with the
wheel it all
fours
out
in
and
it.
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah.
So I had this fantastic idea. I was like, dolly. Like that is a dolly. Like you could put the laptop on it and you can move it.
I love
So we used to like put it on there, and then like move it around and make all these like little shows and like, you know, little skits. And it was funny because like, it was actually 2 nights ago I was watching back at a couple of them and I was like,
Yeah.
sheesh, like thank God no one saw that. Like thank God, but my YouTube career would have started and ended at the same time.
Yeah.
So like when I was younger, like it went from Flash to doing little skits at home. And then throughout high school, I didn't really pursue this in depth. Obviously, there was so many other things to worry about at the time, as you would know. But as soon as I left high school, I knew that this was something I really wanted to do. Because also, it's worth mentioning that during high school, I was volunteering at my mosque, right? So we've got a community channel, international channel. It's called MTA. And it's run by volunteers, and you have these big conventions where there's thousands of people that come, and you stream that internationally. So it was through that kind of setting I got to play with these DSLRs, these big broadcast cameras, live streaming, and being able to stream to millions of people with just a bunch of volunteers that just learnt it, right? And we all had the same passion to learn in the space.
Yeah, correct.
So like that's throughout high school, that was kind of happening obviously on the side. But as soon as I left high school, I was like, okay, I obviously have to go to uni. I want to work. Working was something I definitely wanted to do because very early on to like year 12, I'd say, I had this moment where I realized that, damn, like I'm a person who needs to, like, you know, visually learn, right? I can't read from like reading stuff in books. I genuinely struggle. Like it's an actual thing where I look at a book for too long and the words start dancing. People laugh, but it's an actual thing.
Right. Yeah.
But I knew that I wanted to do something in like the content space. So year 12 finished up, went to uni, but I was doing full-time uni, but I also started working at Commonwealth Bank at the time because I was like, I need a job, right?
Yeah,
at that time, I was too young to know that what's a job, what's not a job.
Yeah.
Went to Commonwealth Bank, worked there for a bit, but that's when we met because on the weekends weekends, that's when I used to shoot the weddings under TS Productions.
Yeah.
And obviously at that time I had a lot of friends getting married, so I was kind of at the right place at the right time. So I got to really get good with my skills of shooting an event, editing an event. But I slowly realized that there's so much more to doing this as like a job, as you would say, is how do you price things? How do you communicate with your client? Like all these 100%. Things were kind of like stuff that I was learning without any titles, right? 100%. It was just kind of like making things happen.
Yeah.
And it was through that pursuit that I was like, you know what, there's something here, but maybe not TS Productions. And that's where I kind of put it on the back burner. Fast forward again to late 2019 and Aurum Media came out.
That's insane, man. Like, you know, thank you so much for that. That was a really great insight into how this entire creative journey for yourself started. And I actually one thing I admire about your journey a lot, man, is that you've had exposure to creativity at such a young age. Do you think like that's 100% like that's influenced like a lot of your decisions today from going from, you know, banking and finance and then going straight into like full-time content creation? Like, how was that like had to play an influence?
I think the real way that it's influenced me has not been like I wasn't young and I was like, oh, I want to do this as a full-time. Like our jobs did not exist back in 2004. That's something that people need to realize, right? Like how many wedding photographers or how many wedding videographers or how many marketing agencies were out there? What they were working on print media. They weren't working on social media. Social media wasn't around, right? So back then it wasn't like, oh, this is something I want to do. Like it was for me, like doing this from a young age, the best thing that happened to me was that I became a gun at what I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I when I sit down and edit a video, for example, I find it very easy to do it. I find it very easy to sit down and you can tell me a problem and I can give you a solution. It all happens up here, right? And I think that repetition over the years has made this easier. But then I also then realized that the gap between running a successful business in this space and being a good creative is knowing that business knowledge, right? And that business knowledge is extremely important to sustain yourself and to scale yourself.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. But I think from an early age, the best thing that happened to me was experience. Repetition, doing it over and over. And that's what the ball bouncing analogy is, right? Like I did it for 4 years, but I got so damn good at it. Like first time it took me 5 hours to do, but then used to take me 5 minutes to do at one stage. Like
it's all muscle memory, right? Like you get so in tune with it. It's like it becomes such a monotonous thing. Like you don't even have to think anymore behind doing it. It's just such a second nature sort of a thing. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
absolutely.
it. So and that's what it did for me.
Okay, interesting. Now, taking it into specifically Aurum, we've got obviously guests who might be listening to this and watching the podcast or for the YouTube video as well. What is Aurum Media and how was that really specifically formed?
Yeah. So Aurum Media, we are a marketing agency, as a lot of people would call them, but I like to define us as more of a digital image consultant, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I'll explain that because when you're working in the marketing space, you're not just providing solutions such as, here's a video or here's photos, right?
Yeah.
That you're a production house at that stage. When you're running their digital marketing campaigns online, you're a digital marketer. But there's a massive part where to bring everything together, you need to consult them, right? And that consulting part involves a lot of sitting down, understanding where a business is at, understanding the gaps, understanding how do we get to that place they want to be in 3 years' time, right? Is that just a dream or is it actually a reality? And then we're able to now bring in messaging, right? We can talk about how do we want to message your brand's, song, for example. Like, what are you trying to sell? Okay, is it a service? Is it a product? We talk about what kind of production do you need? What's the feel that you need to be portraying? That's what your brand is, right? And then we consult on how do we create an environment around a business in which there's all the elements like your collateral, like the papers that you get from your online experience to your advertising experience. Like, we can talk about something right now and tomorrow we'll get advertisements for it. So that's a part of marketing too. Right now, how do we implement that? How do we implement it to the right audiences? So this is where I mean it gets very technical. So that's why I consider Aurum Media to be more of a digital image consultant, whereas we're kind of creating and facilitating this image for a business rather than just run their social medias or make them a good video or post a video for them. So like there's so many elements of consultancy that come into the marketing space now that it kind of expands far and wide. But like if I was to break down what kind of stuff we do, we focus in 3 main areas of production. So that's when you produce the content, obviously your deliverables like photos and your videos, and obviously your design for like your flyers and all your collateral, right? So that's the production side of stuff. You got your marketing side of stuff, which is your digital campaigns that you run. So we've got experts that sit on the back end and they run Facebook advertisement campaigns for you, or on Instagram, or how are we getting leads for you, right? Generating money for businesses through marketing. Because in marketing, it's all well and good when you show a good face for a business. But if what they're paying you, if they're not getting like $2 back for every dollar they give you, why would they stay with you? Right? Like clout will take you so far, but you need a revenue. So that's where marketing comes in, lead generation, creating opportunities for businesses to obviously showcase what they do and then get interested people to give them their details to obviously do business.
Yeah.
And then the third part, so we had production, we had digital marketing, and we have branding. Okay, so branding is something that we're growing in as of the last 6 to 8 months. And that's for businesses that are looking to rebrand themselves, to re-image themselves. So we can start from the ground up. If they've already got a horrible logo, if they've got no color schemes, no style guides, we come in and then we do the discovery meetings with them and go, okay, what is it that you guys want to portray and how can we do that? Or if it's a brand new business, we can obviously launch you so we can get you ready with all your collateral, obviously your online presence, and get you ready for launch day, and then it builds a full company.
Brilliant. No, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for that. I wanna dive a little bit
It
more
gets
into
it gets very like this info heavy, so I want to
yeah,
kind of keep it
it's just
very
like whoa.
chill.
It's like it's not just like it's a business on its own. There's a lot more moving components to it, which is great. I wanna
That's right.
bring this specifically around challenges and talk about your challenge as a creative entrepreneur. What's something that you wish you had known when you switched from going from your corporate sort of degree and your corporate background into being a full-bred entrepreneur running your own business?
I wish I actually had a good understanding of how much discipline is required.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's a
Um,
lot to that. Yeah, I
that's
totally get you.
There's a lot to that. There is a lot to the amount of discipline that is required to run and sustain a successful business. Because I obviously, let's talk about experience, right? Like we are all just a sum of all of our experiences.
Absolutely.
So at that point, when I went from working at Macquarie Bank to Aurum, or started Aurum,
Yeah.
I had I had the opportunity to obviously do it with my brother. So my brother is my business partner,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Shabs.
Yeah.
So I had the accountability partner sort of thing sorted,
Yeah.
but obviously working a 9 to 5 job, there is so much discipline, right? Like what is the discipline that's required? You wake up in the morning, you get to work, you do a good job, and you come home, right? But then with the business, it's slightly more dynamic, in my opinion. You need to be able to obviously wake up, sit on the desk, get the work done. But then there's also discipline. Like your work doesn't stop between 9 to 5, right? Like after 5, it's not like bye.
Yeah, you can click
Like,
off,
it's
see you
not
later.
like
Yeah,
that.
it doesn't work
It's not
that
like
way.
that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because if you treat it like that, at least in the early stages, it won't be able to grow exponentially like the true potential of it, right? So, so like coming from 9 to 5 to working in a business, I think not knowing how much discipline was actually required. But then I guess I enjoy the journey of sitting down, learning from people on
Figuring it
YouTube
all
and
out.
people
Yeah.
around me.
Yeah.
I've learned so much from my older brother, like in regards, because he's been working in business for a while.
Yep. Yep. Correct.
So
yeah.
learning the levels of discipline, but then there's also other parts like becoming an effective communicator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
Absolutely.
being able to
Absolutely.
speak to you like this and communicate my solution across, because what is business? Well, you're negotiating with someone, right? Like they're giving you money
Yep,
for
yep,
something.
yeah.
So within those meetings or in those discussions, you need to be able to get your point across and explain to them how good that video is gonna be.
Yeah.
And
these are the skills that we didn't learn in high school, right? No one sits you down in high school and goes, all right, class, today we're going to talk about like communication through selling, right? Like how to be a strong prompt communicator, right? These are the things that I think in time you develop an understanding for yourself, right? I always say one of the things that really helped me is to learn to fall in love with the process. Right, like mind you, we both started with like our first proper business was KS Creative and TS Productions, right? I can guarantee I'm going to look back at this when I first started. I cringe at so many different moments and look back at my career. I was like, oh my god, I wish I'd done things differently, right? But I in hindsight,
but that's the process.
Absolutely. Like I feel like I had to go through that in order to develop some level of business acumen, right? To understand what it's like to communicate your vision, your product, your business, your service, whatever it may be, right? And to channel all of that energy into the potential clientele, right?
Absolutely.
No, I totally appreciate that. Absolutely love that. Okay. Is there something in social media when, you see, new people who develop their own businesses and, they're like, oh, I'm going to create an Instagram page, right? And, we can talk about, hair and makeup artists, photographers, videographers, dancers, decor people, anyone, even outside the entertainment industry. Is there something that you've seen time and time again where you're like, oh, I would perhaps wish I would have done differently when I first started as a mistake that you could not call out, but realize that, okay, these are the things that I know people often fall into the trap of when it comes to social media and launching their own business? Like what's something that you would say or advise is that like, just be wary of?
Just be wary of consistency.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah,
now, consistency is the most important thing. because it's very easy, and I fall into this often too, as people see these sporadic, moments of me posting a lot of content and then going off, right? But
Yeah.
I'm very
Yeah.
lucky that I haven't cut off all the other parts for my business, right? So my business isn't only coming through my Instagram pages.
I love
So
that.
decision number one when someone starts an Instagram page is, are my current followers potential clients? Okay, it's very nice to have your friends and your family follow you, but are you converting those
Yeah,
followers?
like all,
Okay,
all your
like
Indian aunties and uncles following you and like, oh, good job, beta. We want to support you with this and that. But they're not
and
necessarily like
support is good.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely,
support is good for the mental health, but it's not good for
correct.
the pocket, right? It's not gonna convert into currency. But I think one thing people need to first question is, are the people that follow me, are they ever going to do business with me? Okay, and I'll be very honest with you. My followers on Instagram, I'd say 80%, and I've done surveys on my people, like doing like different questions.
Yeah.
80% aren't. They're just friends, right? People that I know, and that's
Yeah.
completely fine. Okay, but then it goes, okay, I'm going to start an Instagram page, but how am I going to introduce my business to the world of people that might do business with me? That's the question people need to be asking, right?
Yeah.
And if you can overcome that gap, then you're going to accelerate towards being successful online. Okay. So consistency is very important too. Coming back to the consistency meaning you got to constantly be posting, constantly be in front. Why? Well, everyone's heard about the Instagram algorithm. Now, no one really
all of
knows
that.
what the hell that thing does, but it's worth noting that, look, let's take us for example, right? Now, if me and you don't communicate on Instagram for 3-4 months, cool, you're not going to be the first one on my stories, nor is your post going to come up when I refresh. Okay. But if I have a call with you and then we jump on Instagram, like, oh, did you see that Instagram post? I jump on your account and I like that photo. Instagram goes, damn, you're into Kartik now, huh?
Okay,
Let
cool.
me show you more Kartik.
Yeah. Let me just push that content a little bit more. Yeah.
And literally next time you refresh it, Kartik's going to be at the top. Okay. So that's why it's very important you stay relevant and you stay consistent, because for me to show Kartik what I'm doing next, I need to make sure that I'm interacting with him or he's interacting with my page, so I remain at the top of his list.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally get what you mean.
So you need to now be consistent, because every second day I need to post something so Kartik can interact with me, so I can be on the top when I post again.
Yeah. And that's, I think,
so I'm trying to simplify that.
Yeah, that's some of the hardest things I've realized, and around the topic of, you mentioned consistency and then you also mentioned relevancy. I think those two things have been really difficult for people to achieve, especially during a pandemic, right? Now let's talk about that for a second. Weddings aren't happening, right? Couples aren't getting married right now because they can't. Mate, I'm like, this is why I'm creating podcasts now. I'm trying to stay relevant.
Look, it's good. Like my beard, your beard's going out.
I know.
It's a lockdown
Yeah. I'm just, you know what? It's like I'm gonna rock the hobo look for a little bit until I can get a proper haircut. But
and then boom, everyone's gonna sprout for the second time.
100%. In terms of like relevancy, right? Like obviously a pandemic's a time where it's hard for me specifically to create content around couples. How do you adopt relevancy for your business during the pandemic to still be in front of people's eyes? And again, I understand that it's not necessarily through Instagram, but is there something that you do particularly that helps maintain that level of relevancy for your business?
Doing what you're doing right now, talking to my clients or potential clients. That's it. Right? Like there's nothing more that will make you relevant or keep you relevant as long as you have a conversation with someone. Catch up with them. How's everything doing? Even if, you've spoken to do business with them before the lockdown, but it hasn't happened, check up on them, right? Yeah. Because in business, the most important thing is your network. Okay? Now, if I need to call upon someone, like you got to realize that your clients are like for me at least, my clients run businesses, so they can actually solve a problem for me or one of my friends. So for me to build a good relationship is very important, but another part of that is building rapport with your client. That's why you got to keep talking to them, because as you build a good communication stream with them outside of work, right, they begin to trust you more and more. So it makes it easier the second time you do a project with them. They take your advice on like a friend. Okay? So that's one way to stay relevant, is just to stay in contact with your networks.
Yeah,
And the other thing is, come up with concepts like this podcast right here, right? We're creating content for creative specifically, but that does not limit a non-creative to watch this and be like, I'm getting married,
absolutely. Yeah.
So
100%.
it's crazy, right? So once again, stay relevant by producing content. Do whatever you have to do. Talk to people. Like, this is an easy way. Just call up your friend, do a Zoom recording. If you're going out to do something that's relevant to your business, if you're in the food, like let's say that you have a business that's baking, like you bake stuff and you sell baked goods. Well, you could produce a little piece on you going down to Woolies. All right. You record yourself going down to Woolies and getting the essentials and talk about what's happening in the lockdown, but then come back and then at the end of the video, do what you do best. All right. It's relevant. People would be like, oh, damn, she's gone on a Woolies run. That's exciting. I haven't done that in a couple of days.
Yeah.
I
love that.
And then the second part of it would be, like you've captured me by showing me that you're a normal person. You're a human.
Yeah,
right? You're going to Woolies just like all of us.
100%.
But then I've stayed engaged to realize that, damn, you also make, baked goods.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm getting married next year. So maybe for one of the events I want baked goods. Boom, I'm a potential customer.
I'll keep you in mind.
So not closing your mind to how your clients will find you will make you feel a lot less stressed. First of all, you're not going to be like, I need to do that one thing. You can do whatever. Just stay relevant and just make content. That's my advice.
I love what you said about, that whole relatability aspect, right? Which is a large focus as to why I've gone from, now my focus is going from, content creating to now documenting, right? Which is why I've started these YouTube series where I literally just sit in my room. This is anything special here. And I talk to the camera, right? And I talk about honestly, the most randomest shit, the top 3 things you should know before booking a wedding photographer, or how to really be comfortable.
I saw that video of the guy with the bear. So not the bear, the D.
Oh, my photographer's react. Yeah. Straight out, little things like that. I've always thought they've actually engaged more of a conversation, right? They've had more relatability than me going, you know what, I'm going to post an amazing photo of a couple. It's so funny how people think that the traditional aspect of marketing your business is you take content, you put it out there, and then that's it, right? Me doing a photographer's react on watching a guy getting stabbed in the eye by a deer is a lot more engaging and has a lot more conversations around, Kartik is a photographer, let's see what he has to say, than just putting content out there. And I think it challenges the stereotype, right, of the traditional business when it comes to putting out your product or your service from, social media, right? Having conversation, doing podcasts, talking smack about whatever it is and relating it back to whoever's watching is more important, I feel, than just, posting traditionally on Instagram.
100%. And just to add to that, it's a really good point, because it's worth noting now that people aren't here to get a service. They're here to get an experience.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
You go to Apple. Why do you go to Apple? Why do I keep buying their stuff?
Yeah. Right? It's the same thing almost every year as well, right?
It's the same thing.
Correct.
Why do I do? I do it for the experience.
Correct.
Right. Experience starts from, if you're buying it online, how their website is, or how their advertisements. Bro, have you seen how they release the new events that they do? They used to do it obviously in person with all the media there, but now they make these Hollywood grade productions just to be
bro, it's cinematic. It is cinematic as F. And every time I see this content, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I don't even know what the product is, right? I just want to get it because it looks so good. It's wow, it's experience.
Right?
Correct.
Experience, right? It starts there. And obviously it goes through the process. If you go into the actual store, it's an experience on its own. Right? Going to Apple and trying to get something is just fun. They keep tapping their card in weird places on the table and things just pop out of left, right, and center.
Yeah.
It's just cool. Right? It's I went to the Apple store, right?
Yeah.
But taking a book out of their taking a page out of their book, I should say, we got to realize that every company, Netflix, Apple, any company they could think of, is thinking about the user experience.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And experience also involves Kartik sitting there and talking about other photographers, or Kartik, talking you through his shoot. Because what that shows is we already know Kartik's a great photographer. Like it's already an established point, okay? Honestly, like it's an established point because I've seen your Instagram. I've already heard it. But now I'm getting to know Kartik on the day. And if I get Kartik's going to hang out with me like this. He's going to talk to me like this. He's going to direct me like this. And I like that. Okay? Sold. That's why I'm sold, because of the experience I gained. And you could definitely vouch for this, that it is so important to make sure that when you're with a client, that whole conversation, that period of time you're with them, it needs to flow. It needs to be fun for them. It needs to be exciting for them. It needs to be memorable for them.
100%.
So exactly, that's what you're showcasing by documenting with your, I think it's the GoPro.
And it's also, I love what you said about that. And one of the things that was such a big challenge for me is just being on camera, like just sitting down here, avoiding my insecurity, right? My own personal judgment of what I think about myself, putting all that shit aside and going, I'm going to talk to the camera for the next, 15 minutes, talk about whatever I want to talk about, hopefully make it relatable to somebody else, and just block out that white noise in my head going, I might not be good enough, right? Or attractive enough, or might say the right things, right? And I don't know about you, but like, did you have that insecurity or that level of judgment to go, I've got to put myself out there or just document this journey? Like, what was your thought process around doing all that stuff?
There was definitely hesitation. There was definitely hesitation. And I think my hesitation kind of came from, oh damn, people already know I make videos. They better look good. Sort of thing. Like, are they going to be like, oh yeah, that's Tahir's video? I'd be like, oh, that's
it has to be like a specific quality, like a specific standard.
And that's what I used to waste my time thinking about. Okay. And then I realized that, dude, there is so much to gain on the other side of hitting record and stop than the actual video. No one remembers the video. Kartik, you tell me, what's the last YouTube video you saw?
Oh,
no one remembers.
I'll have to check my history because I can't remember. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's the experience that you gain from the video. And that's what, because a lot of it, like, I think one thing I like to do is these questions that typically come up in your mind is like, oh, how would someone receive it? I ask myself, well, how did I receive that YouTuber's video? Do I remember it? Probably not. What did I like about it? Did I feel excited? And I'm like, well, probably like I'm no like super ordinary person that only thinks that way. Like I think 99.95% of people think that way. Okay. So even if that 0.5% go, oh, that's an ugly jumper, right? Like, cool. Are you going to do business with me? That's my next question. Like, are we going to do it? If not, then cool. You're wasting your time and I'm wasting mine, right? Having this conversation with you. So I think, look, be proud of whatever you are, however you look, does not matter, right? But as long as you focus on when you open your mouth and you say something, as long as it's passionate, as long as it's accurate and it comes from a good place, you're fine.
I love that.
Like, who's he to say that, I'm not good enough to talk about marketing? Who? Someone that has more experience than me, that's cool. He'll be like, oh, you said this wrong. Okay, cool. Like, what did I say wrong? Why is it wrong? Thanks. Now I will never say it again. Okay. Or like who says that Kartik's not allowed to be sitting in front of a camera and talking about photography? Doesn't matter if you did it for a day or 10 years. Who cares? It's a perspective, right?
Absolutely.
Right. It's my perspective versus your perspective, and we can sit here and talk about our different perspectives. And I could learn something from you. It's a mindset thing. And if anyone right now watching is on that fence, right? Trust me. Put your legs on the side of the fence where it says do a video and just do it. Because 100%. I can promise you no one's going to remember your first video, neither will you.
100%. And you look back at this entire journey, mind you, and now I'm like, you know what? This entire thing is so easy now. It's like, okay, cool. I've already blocked out that noise so much that I'm numb to it, right? And now I'm so grateful because now that insecurity I once had is like, okay, it is what it is. Just effing do it, right? And it allows me to connect with people like yourself, create podcasts, right? Have guests on, be in front of the camera and do all these amazing creative, like entrepreneurial things I never thought was possible, only because in time, with a lot of practice, you just get used to it. Right. Yeah. I love what you said a lot about our passions, right? And I think we're very fortunate to have come across about our passions. And you started obviously this journey a lot earlier than I did. And for me, it was actually off the back of my corporate job where I was not happy, right? I was doing a 9 to 5, and I'm not disrespecting to anyone who loves that. That might be absolutely amazing if you're passionate about it. But for me, I definitely didn't like it, right? And I wanted to now, I was fortunate enough to stumble into photography. What do you think, like, you could tell someone who might be listening to this right now, going, Tahir, that's all good and well. Like, you started so young, right? Because, you found your passion, what you inevitably loved. Like, I don't have that. What could you tell that person going, like, how do you find, your passion or your purpose? Like, what led you to identify that?
Trying everything.
It's so simple.
It's that simple, man. Like just
everything.
try everything, taste everything, do a bit of everything, but commit yourself to everything too, right? Like what I'm trying to say is, you're not gonna know where the needle in the haystack is until you start looking.
100%.
Okay, and it's funny because everyone's needle is completely different, and it could be like photography. I can do photography, but that's not my passion. But it's your passion, right? So like things can be so similar yet so different at the same time. Okay, so knowing that, it's just important that it's a numbers game. Just try as many things as you can, and don't ever consider it a waste of time. Okay, it's an
100%,
experience, right?
100%.
I like to try. Like in the construction space, that's something that my brother has been doing for years. Okay, and that's something that I've got a little bit of passion for, right? I've got an interest for. Right, and everything starts with an interest.
Correct.
Okay, this all started with an interest. Like for me at 7, it was like, my cousin can do it, I want to be cool too. Right? How did I find that needle? It just developed because I was curious. So if you're looking for your purpose or your passion, well, you'll know when you found your purpose or your passion. Okay, but before you feel that feeling, you should be trying a lot of things, and one day you're going to be like, that was pretty fun. But then also, I want everyone to realize that when you find your passion, it's not going to be like this epiphany, like that's going to overtake you, right? That passion's going to come with a lot of questions. It's going to be like, should I do this? Will I be successful in this? How do I do this? There is so many more people that do this. Like there is just so many questions, and it's kind of like, I don't want people to get, I think I'd say a lot of people have already found their passions, but they haven't been able to answer those questions or had the courage to get past it. And I would suggest that, guys, just keep moving forward at something and you will find that one thing. But for me, the best way to explain my passion is Zen mode, time warps, easy, right? I find it fun. I find it very natural, because I've also realized that about me is, like, if you give me these AirPods here, right, and you got to make a video, I've already looked at this and I already know the first 4 shots I'm going to take of this.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Right. And why? Because like coming back, like, I wasn't really good at reading, but I was a very good visual learner. Right. So I can look at a product and be like, okay, these are the first 4 shots I'm going to take. Cool. Like, it's just very natural to me. So for me to now steer towards that skill set is my passion. So, just try things.
Try everything.
Try things.
And I think, a lot of the times people, like you said, they'll try and they'll have all these questions, right? It's like they'll start something, then 1,000 questions will come their way, and they get so overwhelmed with the entire process that maybe before they even start, they've already stopped. Right? It's like, I can't find the answers to these questions, so because of that, I'm maybe okay with not doing this, right? And I love what you said about, don't ever think of it as a waste of a time. And the biggest waste of time is accepting, being mediocre, or accepting the reality of the fact that I'm happy with stability, or I'm happy with just being average, or I'm happy with the fact that okay, I'm in something that's just, it's what society dictates, or my South Asian parents encourage me to do, right? There's a level of which I think question a lot of these things, like question a lot of what isn't making you happy, right?
100%. Like, that is so true, because that's a massive part of continuously pushing forward in your passion. Right? Like, you need fuel. Okay, it's not like your passion is the thing that you wake up and it just happens. Like, it's life is still life. Right, and there's so many days that I don't want to edit. There's so many days that I don't want to do this stuff. Right? So maybe sometimes, like, I just go, why? Like, 9 to 5 was just so much more easier.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah,
it's convenient.
But it's in those moments I like to catch myself and I go, no, right? 9 to 5 isn't for you because you want to achieve X, Y, Z. And that is why you're doing this. Plus, for the last year and a half, you've kept at this thing and look how far you've come.
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yep,
think about
100%.
the opportunities this thing has given you. Like, I think about what I've been able to achieve with obviously with my brother, and I've learned so much from him. But with him, working next to him, it's been crazy because the opportunities, like, you know, doing my first TV commercial, right? That was a dream at one point, but it became a reality. And did it feel any different on shoot day? No. It felt the same, right? I still had 2 hours of sleep on the morning because I was doing the scripting in the morning. It was a long drive to the actual shoot. It was raining. You know, you had to deal with the people. You had to be like, oh man, just can you do that thing again? Like, you did it wrong. Or you said that wrong. It's not like this fantasy. People need to like get rid of this like highlight reel that they see on YouTube. Okay, I can make a really cool highlight reel of that moment, 100%, right? But it wasn't like that highlight reel. It was still hard work. It was still a struggle to get through it. So like people just don't assume that your dreams are going to be these like beautiful, clean cut, you know, pieces out of like a Spielberg movie. Like, it's not going to be like that.
It's not. Yeah,
It's not
I always
way.
I always think of that graph, right? It's like success and what people think it means, and it's like a straight line, like a line going upwards, and then in reality, it's like this mumbo jumbo, like diagonal, all like messy.
It goes
graph,
back,
and
then it comes
yeah,
back.
yeah. And look, to that point, man, like even my own small journey on that. It's like when I first picked up a camera, right? Mind you, unlike Tahir, I didn't have any experience, right? I literally hit. This is what I did: top wedding photography camera in I think 2018, right? And it spat out the Canon 5D Mark IV, right? Didn't know anything about it, right? I've never had like an actual DSLR. I had jack shit. And then I'm like, okay, best with wedding lens, and it was like 85. I was like, okay, cool. Then on top of that, it's like, okay, I had to now mentally get past the fact that there were already at least 5 or 6 amazing contenders in the market at the time who were like killing it. Right, who were already well established, doing this thing like years for what then I had started, already knowing everything about the gear, right? And it's like there was a mountain of reasons to why I shouldn't start. There is genuinely a mountain of reasons as to why I shouldn't. But like I said, it's about, you know, what I pointed out, it's about trying these things, blocking out that noise and realizing the fact that, you know what, don't settle for the norm just because you have to, or that, you know, we're in this 9 to 5 life. And again, if you love that life and that's something that you're passionate for, that's awesome. But if you're not, have a dialogue around it, right? Question it a little bit. And despite whatever barriers might come your way, I think part of the process is learning to fall in love with the challenges that come with it. You know, there's all these times that you'll probably realize every single day.
I want to flip the script here for a second.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So when you saw that mountain in front of you, when you saw that challenge, why did you go for it?
Oh man, I think for me it was always the potential outcome of happiness. Right, of what led my fuel for why I'm passionate for, that overweighed, and like it completely shunned out the mountain of reasons as to why I shouldn't. Right. And I think it was all about the, like, money was never a factor for this. Right? I know wedding photographers can kill it making a lot of money in this, right? Money was never a factor. It was always about, for me, happiness. Right. And I was coming from a space where I wasn't happy. Right. And you also were part of that, you know, that corporate lifestyle, and maybe you had different or similar, I'm not too sure, experience. But for me, it was very, like, I just wasn't happy in that space. So if I wanted to achieve happiness, right, and, you know, I thought being a wedding photographer was the way to get there, I was mentally prepared to do anything that it took to overcome that. Right. And, you know, to that point, I look back at my creative journey now, it's been almost 4.5, 5 years. And I can genuinely say without a doubt, like, there is not a day that goes by where I question what I did. Right. Yep. It was the most pivotal part of my entire career. And I think for me, it was the best thing I could have done. What was it like for you? Did you think at that time when you had to go from that corporate shift to running your own business, being a full-blown entrepreneur, like, what were you thinking at that point in time? Were you happy with where life was at that moment?
I was happy. Like, you know, I'm not going to say that I wasn't lucky enough to be doing what I was doing. I was very, like, you know, happy. But was I excited? No. Right. And the before Aurum, I had actually put down the camera for like 9 months because the wedding game had really like made it sour for me, because dealing with the brides, dealing with this, dealing
Of
with that,
course.
dealing with like
Yeah.
the editing afterwards. It
Of
wasn't for me.
course.
For me,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I want to work with businesses. I want to go in, I want to tell them what they need, I want to do it for them, and I want to get paid at the end of the month. Boom.
That's
Right?
it.
That was my like back then, right?
Simple.
So I put down the camera for 9 months, but for me, the drive was simply the opportunity and the size of the opportunity.
I love that.
And for me, like me and my brother, we came together, and my brother is so good at sales. He could sell sand back to the Arabs. Like,
I love it. I love it.
no,
That's brilliant.
I'm not joking,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
He would convince them. He's like, bro, you need more sand. Like you don't have enough. You need more,
I
right?
love it.
But so he's very strong at sales, and
Love
obviously
that.
I was very strong at the creative side of stuff. So that's when we kind of came together and we were like, let's do this together.
love that.
And I think that's what helped us grow significantly quicker than other businesses that were starting up, because we did have that bit of experience of what to do, how to speak to people, how to get the bigger jobs, and how to kind of climb that ladder quicker. You know, taking 2 steps at a time rather than just one.
Yeah.
But that obviously comes with experience. So I was
Correct.
kind of luckier in that sense to be surrounded by good people, but I had the choice to be surrounding myself with good people.
Correct.
Okay. And that's something that I really, really, really am glad that I did early on, is surround myself with people that had different ideas and had different opportunities than to what I did.
I love
Okay.
that. All right. You're like the average of the group that you hang around with, right? So,
That's
if
it.
you hang around 5 smart people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 6 idiots, you'll be the 7th, right? And it's kind of like, I always appreciate it. It's like, when our parents go to us at school, like, oh, make friends with the smart kids. Because then they're like, you'll be smart in return. It's such a simple principle, but I really appreciate that value because it pays off today, right? I'm so glad and grateful to have you in my network, because I feel like every time we talk all things
awesome.
entrepreneurship and all things creativity, and it's like all these things bounce off. Tahir, brother, you've been absolutely amazing. I'm going to wrap up this entire episode with the final,
Thank you so much.
the rapid fire round. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this, this
I
amazing
wasn't
experience?
sure. You didn't tell me about this. All right, let's do it.
Look,
Let's do
my
it.
bad,
I'm
my
excited.
bad. So it's a segment I'm just adding, whereby I'm just going to ask you 7 questions. Obviously, no prep, just first thing that comes straight off the mind, and then just answer it however you can. Are you ready?
All right. Ready.
Brilliant. All right. Question number 1: what is your favorite quote?
People underestimate. No, let me say this again. People overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10.
I love that. So simple. It's like a mic drop moment right there, man. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that.
Boom.
Right. Boom, done. I'll just cue that audio in the podcast. Question number 2: what's your top 3 most favorite apps used on your smartphone, excluding texting and calling?
24 truck. So that I love tracking planes. So that's number
Okay.
1.
Okay.
Number 2, as of recent, YouTube Shorts. Well, YouTube, because I've really been addicted to these shorts. Makes me feel a bit better. It's not TikTok. And number 3 has to be my camera app, because can it be the camera app?
Yeah. I'll take it. Especially from me, I'll definitely take it.
Yeah, I've actually done some work for clients on my app, on my phone, and they could never tell the difference.
They're like, oh, it's professional. And you're like, yes, absolutely. Of course.
Very early on. Yeah.
I love it. Question number 3. What's a positive habit you wish you adopted earlier?
Having a good sleeping routine.
Yeah, right?
Bro. That's something I still struggle with. But
no, yeah, of course.
Sorry about it.
Yeah, and pandemics whacked my sleeping routine out. I completely get you, but I think sleep is so underrated, man. So underrated.
And working from home, because right now I would turn around, start working. It's 3 in the morning, and eyes are sleeping a little bit.
Exactly. All right, I love it. Question number 4: what's the first thing you're going to do after lockdown ends?
I want to just go somewhere with my family.
Yeah.
Just kind of a bit of serenity. Even though we've hung out together throughout lockdown, but I think kind of when things open up, go somewhere like Nelson Bay or somewhere and just kind of hang out, get some fresh air in us, and kind of reset for work then.
Okay, brilliant. Question number 5: what's the best way you get some downtime?
Just sitting on my phone, honestly. Sitting with my phone, YouTube, like just watching random YouTube videos. That's probably
consuming
really good.
content that's not your own and stuff like that. Yeah, being inspired. I love that.
never
I love
watch
that.
my own videos, let's be honest.
Same. Literally, after creating this and editing it, I'll never watch this again. I swear to God. Like, I love you. I
Exactly.
love you so much, bro. I would never watch this again. All right,
I probably won't watch it once you send it to me either.
Yeah. It's just like, all right, cool. Nice, man. Nice. Question number 6. In one word or sentence, what was your aha moment when it came to your social media strategy?
Just be yourself.
Yeah.
You would know.
Oh,
This is
bro.
me.
Yeah.
You
100%.
know me
I
the
know
longest,
you.
right?
Yeah.
This is me, right?
Yeah.
And I
know you.
realized that being going, hi, my name is Tahir, and welcome to Aurum Media. Like, I was like, that ain't gonna work.
Nah. Yeah, nah, it's not gonna happen. No, I love that.
So I was like,
that.
just do your own thing.
Yeah, authenticity. It goes a long way, man. It goes a long way. And question number 7, a final question is, where do you see Aurum Media in the next 2 to 3 years, brother?
Oh,
This could be a bit more longer than a sentence or like a word.
yeah, no, this one excites me. Look, I think just really establishing the team that we're building. We've gone from 2 people to 6 people already really quickly. But I think kind of really solidifying and having experts in different positions on the field, I like to say, into different positions of, may that be design, production, whatever it may be, and have them there doing their own styles of people, right? Like I'm very big on getting creatives to work in Aurum that have their own flavor, because that's very important. I can do something a certain way, but someone else will look at it a different way. So for me, solidifying the team would be number 1, and having a robust team. And other than that, are looking to take on more national clients. We've got some in Victoria, but I really want to go up to Queensland and kind of have an ongoing work. So kind of go national.
I love that.
And the other thing is hopefully have slightly bit more time. Have a bit more time to do other stuff. Like I said, like the other passions that I really want to get into. Construction and stuff. So development is something that I really wanted to learn more about, but don't always have the time to.
And I love what you mentioned about time, because you're so right. Whenever anyone starts something, I've realized it's like it consumes them a lot, which is a good thing. It's like you want to give all your time, but then at the same point, it's like, oh man, there's also time that I wish I could have put to other things, right? Or other passion projects, or
because
other
you realize that you put time into photography, or I put in time to Aurum, and see where it got to. Then you go, wait, if I put time into something else, imagine where that could be. Correct.
Like you said, like try everything, right? You never know where it's going to take you. Tahir, brother, you have been absolutely amazing, man. Like I said, I was super excited and pumped for this episode, because I know every time we talk like casually over the phone, we're in the same room or whatever it may be, I always feel so inspired. I feel so excited and like more rejuvenated to go back into whatever it is that I'm doing, because I'm like, he's killing it. I know he's working super hard. I want to like be the exact same. Like, and I know, this entire journey's been a really long one for you, going from, a young age to now where you are today. But mate, I wish you all the best of success, man. And thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for watching this one. And man, I can't imagine where you're going to be in the next 2 to 3 years. I didn't get to ask you that question, but we'll have a chat about that.
We'll have a chat in the next episode. Guys, if you guys love this video on YouTube, rate it 5 stars. Sorry, press that like button if you guys love this video on YouTube. Comment down below, subscribe. If you guys are listening to this via podcast, rate it 5 stars. Comment on what part you thought you loved best. And I will see you lovely kids in the very next episode. Peace.